So the last time I made a video, it was 3.5 years ago. I started making some videos for YouTube. I made two meditation videos in 2020, and then I made another one in August of 2020. I just got married. I was on honeymoon, and I was lamenting about how I had stopped my meditation practice and that I was going to pick it back up and start making videos again. And I didn't do that at all. So, as far back as I can remember, I have always struggled with sticking with things and committing to things, especially difficult things. If it's difficult or boring or uninteresting, then I check out, bail. Whether that's exercising, dieting, relationships, jobs, sobriety for a long time. That was a really, really tough one. But it seems like the hardest one for me to stick with is meditation or some sort of spiritual practice. Um, so, yeah, I dropped out of school and I got my GED, and then I got my first cooking job at Pizza Hut. It was 1993. I made $4.25 an hour, which was minimum wage at the time, and it sucked. But I could be high at work, and I had like weed connections at work, and that kind of set the bar for my entire career path. That I didn't have any really high goals, that I just wanted to stay high and then later drunk, with very little responsibility. So I bounced around from pizza place to pizza place and a few other, really low paying, low skilled jobs. Obviously, no college degree, no career goals. But so around 18 years old, my friends and I, three of my really close friends, decided that we needed to get out of Texas because it was a bad scene. A lot of our friends were kind of taking a wrong path, getting into heavier drugs and drinking and just the wrong crowd and crime. And we're not here for all that. We liked weed, we liked acid, not coke, not booze. We packed up our shit and bought Greyhound tickets. And after 3 days on a bus, I and my homies arrived in Portland. We had a friend that had already relocated there, so we crashed with him. Ultimately, we all got a place together. The weed was great. Record stores are great. I spent most of my time going to coffee shops, getting high, buying records, and then eventually I met a girl, fell in love. Happened really quick. We moved in together. That was my first live-in relationship. It was great, but about the same time, I also trained myself to like beer because Portland had really good beer, and I didn't I didn't like beer. I didn't like getting drunk. I hated booze. Like all the bad shit that I knew about in Texas kind of was related to alcohol, and I thought fucking people that drank were stupid. So I didn't want anything to do with it. But I I turned a corner and something in me flipped, and I just went full-fledged alcoholic kind of like overnight. And that was the longest relationship that I ever had. 20 years of drinking. All my friends that came to Portland with me had moved back to Texas, so I was the only one left. So the three original friends that moved to Texas with me moved back. I was starting to drink more heavily, and I was losing interest in my relationship. I was more interested in staying out, getting drunk. I broke up with the girlfriend. I got a Greyhound and I went back home. And here I was back in the place I was so desperate to leave in the first place. This time I had a brand new addiction and a raging level of spite. Insert about 20 years of drinking, failed relationships, some drug abuse, a lot of shitty jobs, a DWI, a couple of bike accidents, a broken clavicle, and about, and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars just down the drain. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I had some really great times and I have some really great stories. I mean, but overall, like, I was just depleted, financially, emotionally, spiritually, physically. And yeah, so also, not to mention, I had a really difficult relationship to religion. But that's a whole nother topic for another video. But, like, I struggled with religion. When I first tried to get sober, it was 2006, and I went to my very first AA meeting the day after I turned 30. I mean, this was part of my plan. I hosted a huge dance party on my 30th birthday with my friend DJing. I got totally smashed. I did a bunch of cocaine. All my friends were there. It was a great night. My plan was to just go cold turkey the next day, that I was gonna quit drinking, quit doing drugs, and go to AA. I had a sober friend, coworker, that was in the program, and I asked them if they would take me to a meeting, and they absolutely were happy to. Of course, as most people in recovery are, they were very excited that I had finally decided to go. But everybody was really friendly. Super glad that I was there. The only thing that I could really focus on was God plastered all over the walls. And it was said several times in the meeting. And for someone that was forced to go to church as a child and had kind of already come out through the other side of, like, I'm not a Christian anymore, I was pretty triggered by this. And I think that's pretty common for a lot of people that go to AA, because it is so steeped in Christianity, even though a lot of people will tell you, well, it's, the God of your choosing. That's a whole nother video that we will get into at another time. Probably several videos about AA, but anywho, I was triggered and I was trying to quit drinking, and being told that I needed to give my life over to God or I would never be sober it didn't, no. No. So I think I got drunk the next day. I think I stayed sober that night, and then I got drunk the very next day. I didn't go back to another meeting until probably 2010, following a really bad breakup, and my drinking had just plummeted. It was bad. It was so bad. I started drinking in the morning. I was drinking at work. Maybe I was already doing that. I don't remember. It was bad for a long time, but that didn't stick. I think, again, I tried in 2013. I think 2013 was the year that I read A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle. And that was a pivotal moment for me. Even though I didn't get sober and stay sober, I didn't stay sober until 2017. When I read that book, a lot of things made sense. And I think I was able to kind of start grasping an idea of a higher power that wasn't me and wasn't the God that I had grown up with. In and out of AA for years, relapsing over and over and over. I can't tell you how many of the little silver chips I picked up, but I relapsed a lot, at least a dozen times. Um, but in that time between 2013 to 2017, I started reading more about Buddhism and Hinduism and the Eastern philosophy, Eastern religions that made a lot more sense to me than the religion I grew up with. In 2016, I ended up working all the steps finally, even though I would like do the 1, 2, 3 shuffle. And anyway, I finally did all the work and I stayed sober for a year. I stayed celibate for a year, was a chore. And then I relapsed one more time, and then I finally got sober in August of 2017 because I started going to Refuge Recovery. If you're not aware, Refuge Recovery is a non theistic recovery program. It's based in Buddhist teachings and mindfulness meditation. Something I finally felt like I could be a part of fully, and I went all in. I started facilitating meetings. I became the treasurer. I was meditating daily. I was super into it. But then something happened. The founder, who was a Buddhist teacher, was accused of allegedly abusing his power and sexually abusing women, his students, which was a big no no. So there was a big rift in the community. The groups ended up splitting into two different camps. This was kind of about the time that I started dating my wife in Oklahoma. I ended up stopping going to Refuge. I moved to Oklahoma and I kind of bounced around a few places. There was Refuge Recovery and Recovery Dharma. There still is. There still is Refuge Recovery and Recovery Dharma. Um, and I went to a few meetings and I just never really assimilated back into it. But yeah, I kind of just checked out. I checked out of recovery. But yeah, when I moved to Oklahoma in 2019, that's when I needed recovery more than ever, or something. I was really struggling. I was really struggling moving from Texas to Oklahoma, even though I loved my wife very much and I was happy to be with her. I left all my friends, I left my support system behind. And yeah, I tried to find a new home with AA and Refuge Recovery. It didn't stick. I wasn't doing any spiritual work. I was miserable. And yeah, I felt very similar how I did when I moved to Texas 2 decades prior. And then COVID happened. And I rediscovered my love for making experimental music. And I was going to incorporate that into meditation videos and start my practice back up. That didn't stick. So, that's kind of gets us up to speed here. So, since that last, maybe I'll do a part two. I'll do a part two. I'll do a part two to explain like what happened and where we're going now. Thanks for being here.